All right, cool. Sweet. So, we've just finished the training session. I look all fresh because I didn't have the free roll at the end. But Ridwaan is one of my students and has been for
almost a year and a half now.
Year and a half, yeah. Minimum, probably a year and 7 months. So give a little bit of a background as to any training you did beforehand.
I've done a few other things. I've done Muay Thai, capoeira, ninjutsu, a little bit of boxing. But they were only all 6 months each. Kendo also. And there's different reasons why I ended them all. Either it was not regular training, not a consistent coach, or the equipment was too expensive. And then moving country is the other reason I don't keep up with training. But I found out through all those disciplines that being a short ass, the distance management. Because with striking, you've got to be very quick, in, out, because your limbs are literally shorter than your opponent, right? So you get in, you strike, you come back out. If I'm getting in that close, I might as well go in for grappling or wrestling. So jiu-jitsu was the next logical choice by far. With my
So you thought of that when you were doing all these striking?
All these other striking.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. The abdomen was right there, they couldn't see me, the chin was here. Oh, I've got to reach the uppercut that high. I'm right here. It's the whole torso. Right there.
Yeah, that's good. That's cool. So, and you did some jits before?
There was a few schools I went to. Arte Suave and Progressive Martial Arts in Kuparu. And
Progressive in Kuparu, what is that?
Was it progressive? Not progressive. Advanced.
Oh, yeah.
Advanced Martial Arts in Kuparu.
Fuck, that was a while back. Because I was at Advanced.
Yeah, that would have been.
You know, that's where me and Aaron were, right?
Oh, is that where you were?
Yeah, that's the Advanced became Final Form.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So you were doing Muay Thai there, or?
No. I was doing jits there under a brown belt. I forget his name.
John?
No, that doesn't sound familiar.
Okay.
It was under a brown belt, and I got injured. Back muscle. Yeah, so I couldn't train. Gave that up for a while because the training was more geared towards the cage. They were trying to get their fighters into the cage. I was not a fan of the cage, and it was MMA gym. And I really wanted the jits. Right? So I ended up at Arte Suave, and there was a bit of controversy there. They weren't paying their black belts, and they kept changing the teachers, so the curriculum wasn't consistent.
Right.
So you do armbar this side, and then you do leg locks the other side, and then you're like, I'm a white belt, but where's the connection? Where's the connection?
I'll just say quickly, Art Suave, that might have been a rumour.
That was a rumour.
Because I do know Manuela, and I do know that, that she's got a good thing running there. So.
And then the old injury came back, so I had to take time off that to focus on fiery training. So I was tracing for the fireys, then got a proper injury with the herniated disc. So they killed it.
So when was this?
So the injury was 5 years ago, and the chase of the fireys was another 5 years, so that was 10 years ago.
Right.
And so 2 years before that I was at Advanced. So 12 years ago.
So what, like 2011 or something?
Around there, yeah, it must be.
Fuck, alright, so you were there before I was there.
Oh!
I started there in 2012.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you were in the one where there was an upstairs and the jits was upstairs?
No, they had the cage.
There
was like a tiny mat towards the, you walk in, there's a cage on the right hand side of the cage. There was mats there. Yeah.
It wasn't tiny, bro.
Yeah, it wasn't that tiny. It was like a full length. Right? But it was like 2 arms with
this whole entire area. Anyway.
Compared to the rest of the gym, it was tiny.
It was a big gym. Cool. So, like, we've started doing this sort of the constraints-led approach. You've obviously got a whole heap of experience with, the the previous model, the linear pedagogy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you're still kind of, because Monday is Tom, and he's sort of doing maybe something a little bit hybridized, but primarily he's still in that linear pedagogy.
Mm-hmm.
What's been your experience with it?
There's been a shift, because when I first came here, we were doing the whole, this is where you put your arm, this is where you put your next leg, this is the next step, step by step by step by step, completion. But when the opponent's fighting back, as soon as you lose that first step, you get demoralized. You can't get the next step, you can't get the next step, so you didn't finish the technique, you think you didn't practice enough.
Yep.
Right? Whereas the new approach, you kind of, it's the end product you got to get to, right? So say if you need to get the arm bar, the constraint is isolate the arm. However you get to isolate the arm. So if you're moving your hip, everything comes into play that way. So you're not restricted to the step by step by step where you're getting demoralized by the steps that are not working, and you're like, ah, screw it, go to the next thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you open with, say, a triangle attempt, doesn't work, oh, you've isolated the arm, there's the arm bar. It's an interconnection that can kind of play into it, you know? So there's no, you say constraints approach, but
It opens up.
It opens up
Yeah.
every other possibility. It's counterintuitive for me.
Well, I think that's like one of the kind of it's not really criticism, but it's the language that gets used. It's like constraints. Constraints sounds negative in everyday connotations. If you constrain something, it's like, oh, it's got a negative connotation to it. But in this case, it's like you're constraining. So again, the terminology, constraining to afford. Like, afford, what the fuck, you know? But you're constraining, so you're limiting options to provide options of, like, to provide opportunity for action.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
But what I've found is that by doing that, and you know, let me know your thoughts, by constraining or limiting other options, you work out something that works for not only that position, but every other position in, you know, like if you're on the bottom, it's like, oh, well, I got to move my hips away from theirs in order to make space to get my knee. Well, that makes sense, and I could tell you that day in, day out, but it's not going to get through. And that's something I noticed when we first started doing this. It was with Ben. You know, we were trying, forget which drill it was, but I was trying to get one particular movement. I was trying to teach it, like, no, step by step, this is how you do it. And he just couldn't get it. And
Leg locks.
Was it leg locks?
I'm sure it was leg locks. And he was trying to get the delativa.
Yep.
And he just couldn't get his butt on the foot. And then he couldn't get it back out again.
Something like that.
Something like that.
It was something like that. And then when I created a task around it that had nothing to do with sit on his foot, he just did it.
Yeah.
And it was like fucking, it was like something with the half guard or something like that, where he got his ass out, you know, because he like the task was there to get underneath, and he was like, oh, well, I'll just get my ass out. And I was like, bro, I've been saying this. And then I was like, well, that's the constraints-led approach, you know, like he's self-organized around it. So, yeah. So, have you found that? Have you found anything? I mean, we sit down and have insights.
Yeah, it's weird. When you do the step by step, you focus on what you didn't do in that step. But with the constraints approach, it's more like, well, this is why I didn't go right. You didn't have hips there. Well, put my hips there. Oh, I didn't have my arm there. Oh, put your arm there. it's more, throw more pieces at the puzzle. Let's see how this goes. Throw more pieces at the puzzle.
So, as in, like, you're testing the puzzle.
Testing the, yes.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, and I think as well that I really like those insights, and I think one of the good things is having Aaron here because he's got some insights that are actually the teaching side of things, which is not I've realised that I can't just play the games and then let it run. There has to be sort of a final teaching thing. So, what do you reckon the biggest improvements you've made? Like, because I've seen massive improvements, like huge improvements. But you said something last week. Think less, feel more.
Yes. It's a lot more feeling, and your mind isn't getting in the way.
Yep.
Like you're not thinking of the next step, you're just more rolling into it. And you just find yourself, oh, there's an armbar coming.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another choke coming. Oh, I'm in side control. Oh, I'm in outside. Oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
You just find yourself in these different places, as opposed to I must get to side control.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on the bottom. I must get to my side. I must get to my side. You just.
That's sick. Yeah, I find the same, man. Like, yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, that's what. In a
the
nutshell.
zone. Yeah, it's funny because you kind of end up going, as you say, like, oh, I'm here, and it's like there's no conscious thing. Oh, forget what. I think it was Ian Renshaw and this Mick Maloney that I had the interview with recently, and they were talking about I talk about the little man in the head controlling things. Have you ever seen Men in Black?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the alien.
The alien in the head. Like that's kind of that guy. Whereas, so anyway, I have this picture of this big fucking alien dude, and he's no longer getting asked what to do.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay, I'll just let it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So, anything else you wanted to add, or?
But there was like we're rolling with you and Aaron. You're all purple belts, so you'll know a lot more knowledge base, right? So if you see an arm, you see a thing, you know how to defend against it. And so the only question mark for you is how I'm going to defend, right? But when I go up against white belts now, or at least blue belts too, right? There's less of them. There's less of a question mark, as opposed to, I'm not explaining this right. There's less of a domination from them with knowledge.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They have side control. I just have to go, oh, you don't have everything just yet.
Yeah.
You have 80%. Oh, you're going to try something? Nah, you have 70%. Nah, you have 70%. You get what I'm saying? I don't know what they're doing because they have more knowledge maybe.
Yeah.
But there's less of them dominating because of that knowledge.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean,
I can see it like it's like the skill level. I mean, it's weird. It's like the knowledge may not be up there, but then I think that's the old school linear. Like you build a knowledge base, and then you're able to use that knowledge base. Whereas this is like, what are the things that are, what are the key factors within the entire knowledge base that I need to know? Well, keep my elbows in, making sure that, but it's the timing and the balance as well. Like, so a blue belt, you know, I feel like I'm rolling with a blue belt, right? Because it's hard to get your elbows away from your body. You know that that's something that needs to be done. You know that you need to move your hips. You know, if I'm focusing too much on your elbows, you know that there's an out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you make white belt mistakes, but so do blue belts. You know. I really like the progress that you're seeing. Do you feel like you're improving at a greater rate?
At a much greater rate, actually, because I took time off. So I was scared when I came back that I'd be rusty as. And then all of a sudden this new system was in, and I was like, wait, hang on. I don't have to worry about step by this step by that step. Start again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what's the game? That's the game. Let's go. That's the game. What's the game? That's the game.
Yeah, because you were off. Like we basically started it, and then you were off, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because we started December last year. When were you off? Mid December.
Yeah, mid-December, about
Yeah.
17
And for about a month, yeah.
month-ish. Came back end of Jan.
Yeah. So it was kind of. I mean, you didn't miss out too much, which is because we had the time off over January. So you know, I mean, I was chomping at the bit because I was like 2 weeks, and then everyone left, and you know, I'd started like getting right into it. But that also gave me a good period of time to, you know, really consolidate the theory behind it.
Yeah.
And then start looking at, okay, how do I incorporate that into our practice? So when you came back, like the practice design had not only gone through a theoretical underpinning that was strong, but I'd also had a couple of weeks to test out a few different sort of ideas around it.
Yeah.
And now what are we? We're like 3.5 months into it. So and you're 2.5 months. Like, I think, yeah. What do you think of that structure? The 20%. And I mean, these are generalised terms, but 20%, 20%, and then the focus being 60%. So we're doing close guard this week. We do at sort of 25 past. We do 20 minutes of close guard because that's the focus of this week. But the warm up is stand up. And then there's kind of a 10-minute, 10-minute control aspect as well. So we do like a little bit of stand up, a little bit of
constraint
control, and then we do close guard because I'm mixing that up. So I probably haven't given many people this understanding, but so now the curriculum says close guard, but let's say next week is side control. Well, I'll put, say, a guard in that sort of, it'll be stand up guard, and then 20 minutes of
close guard.
20 minutes of like side control because it's side control
next week.
Next week, yeah. So, what do you? How have you felt the structure?
I love the structure. The structure is much better compared to the old one.
Yep.
Because the old one was blind drilling, whether it be the penetrating step and the fundamental movements like the leg lock drills and the side control drills. Those are all good drilling things to get body movements used to jiu-jitsu, right? But it's not realistic with the pressure coming back from your opponent.
Yeah.
So I like that element added to it.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Like we're doing constraints and we have to get out of a certain position, right? But it's nice to have the opponent pressure to make it realistic. It's like, no, this is what you have to do, but the opponent has to hold you down type thing.
Yeah, yep.
Right? So it makes a decent warm up.
Yep.
And you're practicing movements specific to jiu-jitsu, and it's more realistic because it's actual muscles being worked.
Yep. Yeah, cool. And so what I think is we're doing the whole range, and I reckon because we're doing games standing up, where we're looking to get to clasped around the body, that kind of thing, that we're going to be much better prepared for any altercation because it's not like slap bump.
That is another thing with the games because it's there's different opponents, and we're lucky we've got different sized people all over the place.
Yeah.
So we'll take the example, it's close guard. This week close guard, right? I got short limbs.
Yeah.
I physically can't lock my legs around you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I'm so strong.
Strong and proud and right?
Yeah.
So when I said before, like throwing any piece of the puzzle through the thing, I still have to isolate an arm.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out a different way.
Yep. Yeah.
That's why, and you don't get that with an opponent that's just like, okay, here's the drill, go for it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think as well, like I've seen other classes that maybe are a bit bigger that do the constraints-led approach, but they leave someone with one person or maybe, I mean, time constraints-wise, it makes me wonder how they can do it, because these guys will be like, you know, they'll be doing a drill, so we'll call them drills, but the games, they'll do the games with someone, and it'll be, you know, like, it's got to take 4 or 5 minutes, you know, but, and then they turn, you know, do they swap over, do they get those different, I like what we're doing, because we rotate through different people, different skill levels, and one thing I also like is that, you know, like, with the constraints led, I can give a very specific task, or a specific task, and because you don't have to worry about my knowledge base as a purple belt, you just have to worry about this is the task that needs to be done, and he's trying to stop me.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier, A, to focus in on it, and B, to be like, oh, this is how I do this.
Yeah, because it opened up your knowledge in that specific sector.
Correct.
Right?
For yourself.
Yeah.
Because without having to worry, oh shit, like, he's going to go and take my back, so I've got to be prepared for that. Yeah. And then, like, adding on that extra, like, okay, now he can take you back, but because you've now got a bit more confidence around this thing, you're like, all right, sweet, like, now I can defend this and I can defend this, or I can attack this and defend this at the same time.
Yeah, the interlocking too is that part has been highlighted, because line drilling was stuck in this little box.
Yes.
And then another little box of knowledge, then another little box of knowledge.
Yeah.
Here, there, and everywhere. But the interconnecting was never that, what's the word? Vibrant.
Yeah.
As opposed to this approach.
Yeah, it's cool. I used to look at it like that.
Yeah.
Like, if you collect enough techniques, you'll know the entire thing. But the reality is like the interlocking.
Both.
Yeah. So, like, that interconnected is you find concepts that work throughout, and so then you're able to implement those concepts throughout. I'm also doing some weird shoulder things because it's focused, but you know, you find a concept that works throughout the realm of jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, cool. Sweet. Well, we might leave it there.
All right.
But really appreciate you taking your sleeping time. It's 7:30 and we are, Ridwaan's going to go to sleep because he
Works night
shift. So thank you very much, bro.
No worries.
And thank you very much for joining us on this little journey.
No worries.
You! That was good, bro.